Kayla, welcome to the Lessons of the Lashpreneur Show podcast, buddy.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. All right. So I will have already talked about the intro, but kind of give people a heads up of who you are, how you help lash artists. Tell me about the podcast. Give me a little intro on you.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm Kayla. I have been a lash artist for the past 6 years. I'm in Vancouver, Washington, and my business is KK Artistry. I have a podcast called Educated Artistry that I think it's going on year 3, which is like really weird to think about. I started, if you've listened to it before, I had a co-host on there, and now it's just been solo for about the past year. But really the podcast was created just because, and like with the name Educated Artistry, I was seeing this like blank space in the industry where there wasn't a lot of talk about like money or like just really any of the educated stuff, taxes within the industry that actually helps you grow a business and be successful and profitable. So I wanted to create the podcast to bring on other lash artists, lash business owners, entrepreneurs that can share their information, and then also to do solo episodes where I can share my knowledge based on what I've learned in the past 6 years. I started as an employee, a W-2 employee, which we talked about, and that one was done right. And then I'd moved into like a booth renting within that same salon, but it was a very 1099, not everything was fully, I was kind of still being classified as an employee, to then I went into my own space at like a little Sola salon, those salon suites. And then now I have my own studio where I have booth renters. So I've kind of like, besides having W-2 employees myself, I feel like I've kind of like done every step so far within my career. So the podcast is kind of about that. And yeah, I just love helping lash artists grow their businesses. And I love like giving them that moment where like a light bulb goes off in their head or they get this like crazy inspiration. And that's just my favorite part.
I love it. And I think that's a great segue into what we're going to talk about today. Yes, there's the typical lash artist success path is start a business or work for somebody else, go into business, get fully booked, bring on a team. And that's the blueprint for lash artist success. Yeah. Whereas at least, I mean, you kind of started to branch out outside of that. And I started along that path and was like, I don't want to tell grown adults to get off their phone every day. I don't want to start a team. And to look at what else there might be. So some other things that you and I are going to talk about today, but it's like, typically then people want to go into education, and product lines are kind of the other go-to standards. But as we're going to get into today, there's so much more that can be created, that our industry is still so new, so young. There's not a lot that's been established. And so there's lots of opportunities. And I love that you saw what we call a gap in the marketplace of knowledge that you might have an opinion on, and you have an interest in, that you started to dive into to create Educated Artistry.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's talk about the educator component. What kind of things should somebody be asking themselves if they want to get into education, as far as kind of what you've seen the successful educators do?
Yeah, I feel like because I teach courses also online and in person. My in person, I teach for another lash company. So I'm like an educator for them, which is great. And then I've like started creating online courses. But I think a lot of people start and they're like, I want to teach. And I think that you really have to ask yourself, like, do you know how to do whatever you want to teach in multiple different ways? Can you teach it in more ways than just how you know how to get it? Because everybody has different learning styles, right? So you have to make sure that you can show somebody different ways that's not just your way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's almost like speaking to different ways of learning too. Some people are audio, some people are written, some people are visual, and being able to adapt to a student's learning pace and experience is a big part of being an educator. You know, you may know how to do the skill, but it's a different thing to get what you know so easily and put it into words that somebody else is going to understand.
Yeah, which that can be the really hard part too. And I feel like, especially when you're teaching courses online, because you have to think then, I feel like with online courses, you do have to think too of like who you're marketing to, because not everybody wants an online course. And sorry. Not everybody wants an in-person course, especially with like everything with COVID. We definitely saw a lot of like online courses skyrocketing, but there still those people that were like, I need like hands-on. I need to see somebody do it and show me and give me the movements of my hand or anything like that. So yeah, I think just like really recognizing that too. And then knowing like, what are you really like, what is your master that you want to teach on, right? Because you have to be, I feel like you have to be passionate too. And you don't have to teach like everything classic volume, mega volume, whatever, if that's what you want, but maybe you're just really freaking good at mega volume and that's where you thrive at. And that's what you want to teach. Maybe you're really good at classic lashes and that's just what you want to teach, So just like really figuring that out too. So
niching down, which is
definitely
as well. And I think that's probably the way that the industry is going to go. And especially if you're starting out, it's low-hanging fruit in my mind to even start off. And this is what I recommend for my students is starting off with mentoring others. And so don't build out a whole manual and the 3-day course or whatever. Start with just offering up your time to either a newer lash artist or somebody who just paid for a training, got burned, spent all that money and still isn't set up for success. How can you charge an hourly rate to come in and just help them refine some skills that maybe they didn't get in their original course? You're going to come out looking like a hero to that person because they didn't have to pay the several $100s for another course. You set them up for success. Maybe you're doing it in person or you have mentorship calls. But the beautiful thing for you in that moment is going to be that you're going to understand where the other courses and your competitors are not setting a student up for success. Where is their lack of knowledge? That is that gap in the marketplace that you get to come in and be an expert in. And take this idea and run with it and tag me in your business where you're doing this. Once you've done it, I would love to see people specializing in retention and have courses on adhesive that are just specific to retention. I know there's a few out there, but that is a major pain point in our industry that people will quit and leave our industry because they cannot get the lashes to last.
Yep.
So even just starting there and having, that could be an online course that somebody pays you $30 for. It's 6 lessons and they have so much more knowledge that they didn't have to pay the $700 or $2,000 for a course to learn that. You gave them so much value. And now all of a sudden you're the go-to for that retention.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if somebody like promoted themselves in our industry as the go-to retention specialist? I can fix your retention within 30 days or less. Here's my online course for $29. How much that would sell like hotcakes?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Because you're right. And that's a lot of people's problems. And then that's a lot of why they quit, or they're just like, my clients aren't staying with me. My clients aren't happy. I think too, like whatever questions you start getting in like your DMs and stuff from lash artists, like write those down on like, what is a consistent question you're getting? Is it about retention? Is it like, how do you make that map like that on that eye shape? Like, how do you make your fan? Like, think about like those, start keeping track of those questions that you constantly get asked and think, how can I make a course out of this to like help people?
Because I think you bring up a very good point here is that it doesn't matter what you want to teach if there's not an audience that wants to learn that.
Right.
So while yes, and we can get into imposter syndrome, but there are a lot of 1 to 3 day courses out there that will teach you the application, isolate, dip in place, and you walk away knowing that. But if you look at the lash forums, a lot of them are like, oh, my lash course didn't teach me this, this, and this. And for good reason, because you're paying for them to teach you a skill. They can't teach you everything. But that would be the areas that I would go, there's an opportunity and a need for that. I might jump in, and this is actually how I started with the Lashpreneur. I might jump into those comments and be like, hey, I've got a free guide on, the 6 steps to correcting your fan placement. Is that something you're interested in? And now all of a sudden you've got, yeah. Can you send it to me? Can you send it to me? Please. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And you're starting to build that audience that has the needs, because you're looking like those free Facebook groups are great target market research. The first 3 years of the Lashpreneur is where I spent my time. What are the questions they're asking about business? And it's a great way for you to understand globally, because there's tens of thousands of lash artists in these groups that are complaining about where they're lacking in their artistry and their business. So it's a great inspiration for creating content, for creating courses based on the needs of the audience you want to serve, rather than, I want to create a course and I'm going to do it like everybody else. And then I just have to charge a little bit less because I do it the same way as everybody else. No, you already have something that makes you unique and stand out in the marketplace, that you then have an audience that's hungry for that.
Yeah. And I want to mention too, because I feel like sometimes if people are like, there's that big topic in the industry about like, should I give away knowledge for free,
Yes,
or if they want to keep it super secret? And I'm like, there's obviously certain things, like if somebody's like, how do I scale or like, I want to do this with my business or scale this. It's like, okay, we got to get into your numbers and we got to sit down here and like do this one-on-one. This is going to take time. But, if there's certain little things of, giving away a free guide, right? And a lot of people are like, well, it's free. Well, if you can exchange and get their email, then they are still somebody that is now an audience that wants to hear from you, wants to see what you have, and could potentially be a student. Then when you're like, oh, I'm going to put out this retention course for $29, that they already trust you because you gave them good information that worked. Then now they trust you to buy when they come in. So
you nailed it right on the head. And I think it's interesting that like two people who have podcasts are answering, like giving away free information. That's what we do. There's a couple of points here. One, it is interesting to me, even for lash artists and their potential lash clients, when people get offended that somebody asks them what their price is, or for them to sell themselves. Why should I choose you? Because they don't trust you. Now, whose fault is it that they don't trust you? The customer. It's yours. 100%. Yeah. You have not made it a no-brainer decision for me to invest with you. My hard-earned money, I need to make sure that I'm not going to get burned, because buyer's remorse is a real thing. And if you think that it's not, good luck trying to sell. So don't get offended that somebody is challenging you to prove yourself. It's the game you signed up for. The more trust you can build, and this is all about the marketing funnel, which is something we teach heavily on inside the Lashpreneur Society, is you have at the very top of the funnel, you have awareness level marketing. That is taking somebody from having no idea you exist to you existing. Word of mouth marketing, paid advertising, SEO, Google searching. All of a sudden, somebody knows that your business exists, but that's not where your marketing stops. You need to build a relationship with them. You and I have a podcast. We are in the interest level marketing with our podcast because we have consistent episodes, consistent relationship building. We have subscribers, listeners, whatever you want to call it, that we are providing value to every single week. Hopefully, besides when we're tired and we're sick of it.
Right. I was gonna say there's some times where we go out on, or at least me, I'm like, I need a break.
Well, that's when we do our best of episodes, by the way. Little side note. You'll get an episode of the week. It just may not be pre-recorded. It may be one from 100 episodes ago that most people are just kind of picking up where you're starting rather than going from episode 1 all the way through. So repurpose a past episode that performed well. There's a fun fact for you, Kayla.
Thank you. Yeah, that is good to know, actually.
Right. Social media is that. Google reviews, Yelp reviews, all of those are social proof. It builds that know, like, and trust so that they feel comfortable that they know who they're spending their money with. Because here's the thing. Have you ever heard of the Law of Reciprocity?
No.
Okay. So the Law of Reciprocity is I've been given something and I naturally feel this need to return it. Right? Reciprocate the value that you've given to me. So here's the thing. If I am giving you free value and you're able to apply that to your life, to your business, and you get results without ever having to have done anything except maybe invest a little time listening to a podcast, what are the chances that when I have a paid program that meets your needs, your pain points, that offers a solution, that you're like, wow, I bet her paid stuff is way better because I've already gotten so much from the free.
Yeah.
And it happens.
Cool. Yeah, I know.
There is zero reason for me to do the podcast if it doesn't lead to a sale.
Exactly.
Because I'm building a relationship. Do you think I'm doing this for fun? Like my kid is interrupting me. Like I got to do. However, I know that it is part of the customer journey to becoming a customer, is building a relationship with me, trusting me, which is what you hit on. If you can help me solve a little pain point, I bet if I invested in you, you could help me solve a big pain point.
Exactly.
And then we move into the desire level of the marketing funnel, which is where your website is. The desire level marketing strategy, and that's really all your website does, is handling sales objections. Do you know the 2 most common sales objections, no matter the price or service that you offer? What is the number one thing that people ask in the DMs about lash services?
What should I charge?
How much do I charge? How much do you charge? Yep. And the other one is time and money.
Yeah.
That will be an objection that you will face no matter what you sell or product or service, because that is the cost of somebody getting the solution that you offer. And so your website should be curated to answer those two questions. If they still have one of those two questions, they will not buy. Right? So
I love that. Yeah.
The value that you're providing in that free content, the more those objections get lower, because the cost of time or money for free stuff is little. It costs them more time for your free stuff than it does for their money. So they're already seeing, I'm getting a return on this money I spent, or this investment with this person, time. And so now if I do money, maybe I might get more. And then you have more of a conversation about how much more of a solution you can provide for them when they pay you than they got for the free stuff. Now, as far as like content topics, let's ask you, how do you decide on what topics to talk about on the podcast or your social media?
Well, definitely for the podcast, I feel like it really is like questions that people ask or things that I see missing in the industry. So like recently too, I think you had her on yours, Kanisha Coleman.
Yeah.
I actually just had her on mine last week. And because I was looking at her, she sent like her little bio thing and it said that she was a guest on your show. And I was like, oh, cool. It's like, it's also like, the time of the year, like obviously taxes is a big topic right now. When all the Venmo stuff went crazy, I'm like, all right, we need to talk about Venmo and like how everybody was using emojis and they're trying to be like, use this. And I'm like, okay, no, we need to talk about it because it's actually false information, what is being spread by a lot of these people. And when I saw those and there was like this one particular post that was just shared everywhere. And I was like, no, please stop. And so, that's something too that I see that, then I decide like what to make content on. So for me, it's really just like what I see kind of going on social media. And then the questions I get asked to really frequently, like within
why not charge for that? Why not pay for somebody to get that information? It's valuable.
Yeah, no, it is. Well, for podcast episodes.
Yeah. Like for your talk. So you're talking about like, maybe you have a price. Why wouldn't they pay for the podcast? Why are you giving it away for free? I guess is the question.
Yeah. Well, to build trust with them and to build that relationship. Yeah.
Because here's the thing. People can Google everything that you and I have.
Exactly.
It is available for free. Every single thing that you and I talk about is available on YouTube, on Google, in books. We learned it from somewhere. So why would somebody pay for something?
Because it's coming from you and they trust you and that they're also going to get it done in a lot shorter of time.
Boom.
Yeah.
If they can pay for something and getting it easier, faster, quicker, better, what have you, that is worth paying for. Because go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and that it's like, you're already having it be relatable to the industry, because I feel like there's like, when you get down, there's certain things with business where you're like, yeah, you can learn anything, but for probably you and I, we had to learn and then relate it to a lash business. Well, when you pay for somebody, they're already relating it to a lash business now. And that's even cutting more time out of the learning process.
When you're paying for somebody's expertise and experience in what you want to do, that is cutting down time, right? Because we had to learn it. And now we're charging for you to learn it faster so that you don't have, because here's the thing, it's costing them something already. You just need to bring their awareness to it, that it's already costing them time and probably money by either even lack of sales because they haven't learned it yet. So when I talk about the Lashpreneur Society and people are like, I only have $20 to my name, how am I going to pay $59 a month? I'm like, well, let's look at what it's already costing you. One particular, she listens to the podcast. She's been messaging me for 3 years, never joined the society once. And she is still having the same issue. And I'm like, what's it going to take for you to join the society to actually learn this stuff? Because I've messaged you and I can talk about my boundaries about how much advice I give versus when I start leading into sales. But I said, do you want to be in this place a year from now? I can't afford to be in this place a year from now. Well, I don't think 3 years ago you could afford to be in this place, but yet here we are. So the cost that it's already costing them has significance that we can identify in a sales conversation when it comes to giving away free information versus paid information. Now, the difference is painting the potential and the possibility for them so that the cost doesn't seem so high. So for example, I only have $20 to my name. I can't afford a $59 a month membership. Okay, well, let's look at just 1 month. How many clients would you need to get? And I'll walk you through this, Kayla, because I have this conversation all the time. Kayla, how many clients would you need to get in order to pay off 1 month of the Lashpreneur Society membership at $59?
Half a client.
Half a client. So if you get one full set,
Yeah.
And how much do you charge for a full set?
Full set I charge $260.
$260. So you could even offer a 50% discount on your full set.
Yeah.
And still have one new client that you learned, that you got into your business solely basis off what you learned in the society, pay for 2 months of membership. And you're telling me you only have $20 to your name. Do you realize you're looking at your circumstances, not what's possible?
Right.
Now, here's the thing. Lash services, how often do they come back?
2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. Let's for easy math, let's do 2 weeks, but yes, I think 3 weeks. And how much do you charge for a fill?
My fills are $115 or $150.
Great. So that one client over the course of 3 months would pay for an entire year of your membership. One client. You don't have to get multiple clients. Now, if I'm half worth what I say I'm worth, you should be getting more than one client. Otherwise, maybe we need to maybe I need another career. I need to go do something else. But what you learn can then have a domino effect because our clients don't just come back once. So do you see where I took this belief that I can only afford so much, and this totally went into a sales conversation, but this belief that I only make so much, or I only have this much, but you're trading in what's possible for you.
Yeah.
And so that, again, when you're handling sales objections, it's painting the possibility, getting them to live in what their potential is, because you can see that because you're not living their day-to-day life, versus the circumstances they find themselves in that is not helping them get to their desired reality.
Yeah.
So that's free stuff all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That made me think, I'm trying to think of what book I was reading that, I think it was Amanda Francis. And she said something, or maybe I'll have to double check, but, it was something where it's like, a lot of people talk about like, oh, you need to like cut, like, your budget or whatever it is, but really you have to think about, but how can I make more money to support what I want to do or have my lifestyle, instead of thinking like, oh, well, where can I cut to, scrape by and whatever, but it's like, no, how can I make more?
Yes.
So that made me think about that right when you were saying about like the one client and stuff.
It's both. It's sometimes, and I will say, having worked with lash artists quite a bit, they get a little spend happy.
Totally.
And no offense to my educators out there, but lash courses, if I just learned how to do lashes better, then I'll be successful. But if you don't have an audience, a clientele to market those services to, you're putting the cart before the horse.
Right.
So, anyways, I didn't mean to get into a sales conversation.
Oh, no, that's all good.
It's relevant to no matter what you want to do, because some of the other options are product line.
Yeah.
So have you ever explored product line? Do you work with people who are interested in product lines?
No, I've talked to like, business, people that have product lines, and, I just know it's not for me. So I like, especially with like lash supplies. I feel like I've talked to a lot of people about like the, amount of money that they put into testing and making sure that they're getting, quality product, and knowing whether you are, what's it called? Like, white labeling. Is that what it's called? Where you're right. Where you're just like getting something, but you're just pretty much putting your sticker on it, versus when you're actually getting something made and manufactured, like to what you want. So for me, it wasn't something I was interested in, but I mean, there are people out there that have great ideas where they want to evolve in the industry. I mean, we see it all the time with like pre-made fans and stuff. So there's definitely, and like you said before, like the lash industry is still so small that I think there are still so many options on what you can do for product lines.
Yeah. And from the people that have successful product lines that I've kind of tried to pick their brain on, that there's what I like to make the distinction of for anybody who's considering product line, because usually it's like, I want a product line and an educator. It's very rarely just the one, is to get a distinction between, am I a product line company that supports the sales of my product line with supportive education, or am I an education company that supports the education with products? Because you're going to want to, again, with the niche conversation, get somebody in the door, a customer, to pay you, and then take them wherever you want to go. So for example, I will say, my brand Lashes, when Hillary Brand was over it, she was an educator at heart. Now she saw the opportunity to find products she loved, and she actually really loved the innovation of products, which is why I think her brand actually did pretty well, but she was an educator first.
Right.
And product line supported the education. Borboleta is no offense to Borboleta, more of a product company. That is their primary sales. That is what they go to trade shows, they do the whole thing. They have influencers that get their products, and then they have an education component that supports it. But you got to have one that's above the other, especially when you're starting out. Doesn't mean eventually it can't grow to be equal, but one is always going to be the primary business model that something else, another revenue stream, supports. So it making that distinction will help you to determine which revenue stream you get working and flowing and funding whatever else you want to do.
Right.
But having the distinction first, because if you're trying to do both, it gets really complicated. Being a service-based education business has a very different business model than being an e-commerce product line where you're dealing with minimum order quantities, manufacturers overseas, returns, lost shipping, totally different business model. So lower your learning curve and just focus on one. And then if it makes financial sense and there's an opportunity there to bring on another revenue stream, then have at it. Go take it where you want to go. So that's my 2 cents on product line. It is very much e-commerce. It's, you've got a lot of the big dogs out there that are going to trade shows. Trade shows are very expensive, very rarely profitable, but it is awareness level marketing. But yeah, it also could be a lot of fun if you're really passionate about products or innovation, or what makes your products different, unique than everybody else.
Yeah, I think so too. I also think I feel like for me personally, the only way, and I don't even know if this would be something that I would sell a product line like e-commerce style, but is if I had a large team. I would probably want to source out to find my own products, because obviously it's going to be a lower overhead cost than buying from a big brand. Right. So for me personally, if I were to have a really large team and I wanted to, have good products, but get that lower cost, then that's probably the way
you would do that for a means of cutting expenses in your brick and mortar team business. Not because, it could start off that way, and it definitely,
and then it could grow. Yeah.
And then it's making your local artists know, hey, if you guys ever need products, I have more than enough. But it's not that you wanted to build out a product line. It's that made sense for the current business model you have to increase profitability by not having to buy from suppliers here and just source your own goods. And then maybe it's looking at innovation and scaling that side of it. But again, the primary business model is your team, and the focus and energy goes there first. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's a great way to get started with it. Yeah. So let's talk about outside of education and product line. What are some other things that people could do in our industry that is unheard of or still growing, still new?
Yeah. Well, okay. I think one that's really new is influencer marketing, because I think that, one with TikTok and reels and everything, it's crazy what brands and it's so funny too, because it's right now, I don't know if this has happened to you, but I'll have people send me free product and they'll just send it, and it's they automatically expect you to do a full set or do something with it to, then promote their product. Right. And for me, I'm I appreciate you sending me product, and I'll try it out. And if I usually share on my stories, but then it gets to that point where but can I is this more of a sponsored post? Do you know what I mean? So
boundaries and here.
Having those boundaries where it's but I think a lot of people are oh, free product, this is great. But then I think about if I were to make an actual TikTok video or a reel, that takes a lot of time. And I have built, and if you have built a connection with your audience where they trust you and they know that they're going to buy that product that you suggest, you kind of have to look at your value of what you're bringing to that company, is it worth just giving them free advertising if it's someone maybe you have a personal connection with, or thinking about it that way where it's more of influencer marketing.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the next couple of years. What was that?
I hope so.
I hope so. Yeah.
Our industry is so behind the times. It's in the bigger marketing world, it's called affiliate marketing, but also influencer marketing.
Right.
If you have an audience that, of 1,000, tens of thousands, whatever, you become a great marketing channel for that business because you have a trusted audience. And I kind of feel the same way with conferences in our industry too. They're not utilized in a way to grow the actual business of whoever's sending out product, or, you know, the company that the influencer is promoting. And influencers are not charging because there is a lot of value when done correctly. Yeah, I get hit up all the time for things that I've never heard of. They don't know my name. They're just like, I'm somewhere on a list. I'm like, no, I want to promote the things that I enjoy, that I like, the products as I use, the companies that I align with. But it's not being utilized in a way that can really help. Look, if you're going to pay me to come speak at a conference or to, you know, promote your product or service, I'm going to do it really freaking well. Right? If you're not going to pay me, I'm not going to prioritize your business over the stuff I got to do in my business. I have an endless to-do list. Right? I've got an audience I want to serve. But if we can match and be in alignment with the value that I can provide my audience, and we both get paid for that, I will prioritize that. Right? So even those of you that are interested in conferences, if that ever becomes a thing again, that was my biggest pet peeve, is like, people want me to come speak at conferences, but utilize me. Utilize the audience I have. I have 14,000 people on an email list. I have 35,000 followers on Instagram. I have 5,000 on YouTube. I'm working on TikTok. But I have a big reach. Utilize that. Yeah. Compensate me for it so it's worth my time, because I will make it worth your time. Yeah. You know, and so it's so much of a great opportunity. And I think our industry could definitely do a lot better with that, because there are people, us lash artists, we love to follow people. We have our lash celebrities, like, take advantage of that influence they have, because they've already done the work of building out the trust. You need to take advantage of that if you have a product or service, especially if it's something different and unique.
Yeah, no, I agree. Have you had anything, or have you done any like affiliate marketing with, you don't have to say names or anything, but where you decide like what you want to charge, or like for speaking, you know, like if somebody asked you.
So 2019 was when I was in a lot more demand for speaking gigs. There were some really, really awful scenarios that I almost got into lawsuits with people because they promised something and then ghosted me. There have been people that paid me well, but it's interesting, outside of paid me well, I want to use that in context. Outside of our industry, speakers get paid at least $2,000 per gig because of the time investment and all that. Now, I have had trips paid for. In fact, I'm going to Colombia next month to speak at a conference, completely paid for. Now, I'm not getting paid to go do that, but my trip is paid for, which means sweet, free trip to Colombia.
Totally.
The cartel wives are going to hang out. But, you know, I will, because I have a relationship with that person, she's been a longtime student, I'm willing to do that, because I'm going to show up and give a stellar performance and provide a lot of value. But I do think I would like to see our industry go that way, because it's one thing for people to show up at an event and just kind of give their 2 cents and here's what I do, one trick pony kind of speakers. It's another to really make sure that your audience has a clear, distinct walkaway or takeaway from that presentation, and be compensated for it. I would love to see that be an option, because then you'll get really quality speakers coming out in our industry to make these events must-show events, must-go-to events. And I will say, Paul is starting to do a really fantastic job. I know he's been at it a while. He and I had these conversations before LashCon ever became a thing, that were like, speakers just aren't compensated. And he does a really great job of making that a legit event. And it's a lot of work on his end, a lot. And he's starting to do that so great. And and he gets the volume of people. I think that's the biggest event we have in our industry now. Kimberly Haworth in Australia, when she was doing Lash Vision, did it so supremely well. It was a really great guest experience for somebody who attended. So when you're coming at it from that, you can charge the higher prices to compensate for it. My girl Britt Siva and Hertz Live, stellar. So I think there's opportunity. We're just still, a lot of people just want to have a live event because it's all about the host of the event rather than the attendee experience. Jill Heidegger's Peliquin used to do a live event. So I think we'll head there as soon as we can person again.
I will say, like, because I went to the Lash conference in 2019. They only had it virtual 2020. And then I went this last year, and they had those like bigger name speakers like Jasmine Star, Anthony Trucks, and they were amazing. And the speakers in 2019 were great too, but just like elevating that too, like with both of those speakers, like you could tell the difference from someone who was like, is a speaker and was paid to be there. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know Jasmine's rate, but I can assume, knowing her business model, is probably at least 10,000 for her to at that event.
I would say both of them are about that.
Yeah, if not
minimum.
More.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, again, and they bring it. This is not a joke to them. This is a revenue stream for them. She is so good live. I've seen her live 3 or 4 times. And
her energy is insane.
And she teaches so well, so succinct. And so I really think that Paul got his return on her showing up. And I don't know Anthony Trucks, but I'm sure he was of similar ilk.
Yeah.
That when you compensate those people, the high value people, they take it seriously as a job rather than just a hobby or, I'm just going to put together a PowerPoint and then I'm nervous about speaking in public and I fumble on my words. Like these are polished speakers.
Yeah.
And I would love to see that as like another revenue stream that we have in our industry.
Yeah. And I think it will get there. And I think like definitely too with more affiliate marketing is going to get there also. So I think that's something just to, I don't know. I see these girls too that make like YouTube videos where they review products or TikToks where they review products. And it's like, that can be an income stream
Amazon
for you.
Affiliates. So
and
you can be an influencer on Amazon and refer your lash bed, your bedding, your decor. I know Dear Lash Love does a great job at that. She's the lifestyle influencer coupled with beauty stuff, and she has an Amazon shop, and that's just passive income for her. And it's beautiful. She does a really good job at it.
Yeah, I have, because they have like an Amazon associates and then an Amazon influencer. With like influencer, you have to have a certain amount of following. I think it's pretty large, but anybody can really do the Amazon associates. You just have to have a website. So I think for lash artists, that's like a great place to start. Literally Google Amazon associates application. And
even YouTube. So if you look at affiliate marketing, or if you look at marketing business models in general, when you are starting to put yourself out there, it's just, where does your money come from? So like big YouTube channels, and I use big loosely because it all depends, but YouTube can be the one that pays you because of your advertising, and you don't have to work on anything other than getting people to watch your free content, which is a low sell to people. And you just get subscribers, but then YouTube is compensating you. So that's another revenue stream if you don't want to like be the one selling products or services. I'm an affiliate marketer for QuickBooks, for Acuity, for a variety of different business-based softwares, right? Because these are things I use, I teach, and other programs like accountants and other services that are complementary, other lash products, I can get them a discount code and I get a percentage commission off of that. So there's a lot of different ways, if you love building an audience and you really like the idea of being an influencer, that you can monetize that without ever having to charge your audience a single penny.
Yes.
And that I think is a lower less intimidating way of doing it, because you're not doing sales. You're just inviting people in and you're sharing the things that you love and promote. And that is where your revenue comes from.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. And I think that, I'm excited to see that part grow. Yeah. Because I think it'll be great.
I think the other thing that we were going to talk about too is just coaching, teaching something aside from isolate, dip in place and like application skill based stuff.
Yeah. I think, and we've seen a big explosion, I feel like, with that too. And like this past year with coaching. So I mean, I do coaching. I like one-on-one monthly mentorship type of coaching because I do like the technique classes as well. They're not my passion though, but like really most of the time too, when I was getting questions about like, how do I start my business? Like, do I need a business bank account? Like, how do I find a CPA? Like those were the stuff where I was like, oh yeah, like let's get going. Like, how do I raise my prices? So really just figuring out too, I think like what you're good at and what you're passionate about to help people. And still the same thing with like the questions that you're getting asked and building like a coaching program around that. I
think there's, and I've seen a lot of shift in this since the pandemic started, of people looking beyond the chair to bring in revenue streams, because, whether COVID's up and down or things are shutting down or not, it's like, well, if I can't do this, I have all of this knowledge, experience in this industry. I don't want to necessarily just walk away from that.
Right.
So what can I do? And where I like to get creative is, okay, so you have this niche of this industry, beauty, lashes, whatever. And you have a passion, something that you naturally are drawn to, invest your time, money, energy into. That's just like, maybe it's a hobby or something that you really love. Is there a way to marry those two and create something that doesn't exist?
Yeah.
We had a coaching corner conversation with one of the students where she loved the idea of in-person retreats and events and spiritual retreats. And I'm like, there's probably at least 1,000 lash artists that would get in on that. And you can have small retreats, charge a high price, and do that. But you're specifically targeting those that are in this industry because you are one of them.
Right.
The reason why I get told I'm a great business coach is because I speak the lash artist language.
Yeah.
I teach anybody business. In fact, I probably do. I've had dog groomers reach out to me saying my content's amazing. But I speak the language of an audience that doesn't have many of us in there speaking to in ways they understand. So there's a way that you can take something that you're passionate about, maybe it's animal rights, and combine the industry you were an expert in and combine the two. Maybe you're creating a non-for-profit of, for every product sold on your e-commerce line, a percentage of that is going towards animal shelters and that kind of stuff. I mean, there's always a way to align the aspects of you to create something unique and different that is so authentically in alignment with you that you would do it whether you were paid well or not.
Yeah. I love that. Well, and I think the big thing too is like thinking out of the box. Like just because somebody's not doing it right now, don't be scared to make it something new. If you love, like, I feel like there's so, like you said, like finding something, like if you're really good at organizing, and how can you marry that with lashes? If you love interior design, there's people out there that are like, I have no idea how to decorate my lash salon. I have a vision, but I have no idea how to put things together. Like that's another thing that you could marry together that I don't see anybody doing that, of like, let me help you decorate your salon, or give you like, interior, how they give you little, like how interior designers give you little, what are they, like little screens where it has it all set up for you. Yeah. But like anything like that, like there's so many options of whatever you're passionate about, and then putting that with lash artist.
Here's another business idea for somebody. Where is the person that is creating custom lash beds that match your brand, that are comfortable? I know Sugar Lash had some sort
plush
of
and oak.
difference. But man, that's a thing. Like people love the aesthetic of it. And can you imagine if you could custom order lash beds to be on brand? You could charge a premium price, and maybe it's electric and it moves up. I mean, so many different opportunities just depending on what your passions and hobbies are. So let's have the conversation real quick before we wrap up on imposter syndrome, because that's probably coming up for a lot of people. I got ideas for days, but who am I to be doing this? Have you ever faced that?
Oh, totally. I feel like it's kind of something that you always have in the back of your mind, right? But it's just combating that and like putting, you kind of have to put those limiting beliefs behind you.
Yeah, it is something you will always face. New level, new devil.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and you're right. Like the question, who am I to be doing XYZ? Who do I think I am? Is the worst question you could ask yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I not to?
Right.
Right. Who am I to think that me doing something that's in alignment with me and helping other people in whatever capacity it is, who am I to stop myself from helping others? Right.
Yeah.
And it's so focused on ourselves rather than the impact we could create. I'm pretty confident to say about 99% of lash artists get into this industry because of how it makes women feel. Maybe even how they feel. We're in the beauty industry. Yes, it's something external to us, but it makes us feel better about ourselves. Right? If you want to become an educator, it's about teaching a woman or man the ability to provide an income from themselves with a skill set and an artistic expression of themselves. Who are you not to teach that? Mm-hmm. Somebody is looking specifically for what you have to offer, the type of personality you have, your way of doing things, and you're not putting it out there because you're afraid a troll is going to come on and tell you you're hideous with a low IQ. Happened last week to me.
I was just going to say, I saw your reel, and it's like, whenever I've had people to actually just had someone on TikTok too, that I posted a video about how to get the watermark off of your TikTok so you can repurpose it on Instagram. And this girl was like, old news. And I'm like, okay, well, and as there's like comments, and it kind of like annoyed me at first, because I was like, okay, but like obviously not to everybody, because whatever. And she's like, well, you're like the 5,000 blah, blah person to post this. And it was like pretty annoying to me at first, but then I look at all the comments of all the people being like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like, I didn't know that this is how you can do this. And it was so easy. Like this worked for me. Like, oh my gosh. And it's like, okay, that one person, it's like, just kind of flick them out of the way and just be like, all right, whatever.
TikTok, she's right. Yeah. Cause look, I signed up for TikTok in October.
Oh yeah.
So I'm still learning like where things, I mean, it's mostly thirst traps, but I'm in my late 30s. I thought I'm too old for this. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with another platform. And I get it now. I spend more time on TikTok than I do on Instagram.
Well, and it's like every other app, it ages up, right?
Right. And
so it's already aging up.
New people on that platform, people that didn't see the old videos, even if it's like, you keep talking about this. Well, that's what I'm known for. Maybe you graduated out of my audience. Bye.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting that we will be so afraid of the one person that might speak up and say something negative than the thousands of other people who would be so grateful to have any sort of influence, ideas, knowledge that I have to share. Weird how that works, huh?
It is weird.
Yeah. We're so afraid of the one upset customer that we don't even want to put ourselves out there to help the other women that are going through divorces and breakups and acne and feeling just ugly and beat down by the world. We can help them, but we're afraid to put ourselves out there to reach them because somebody who's so upset in their own life might have something negative to say.
Well, and I always think that too, where I'm like, they must be not having a very good day today. Like if you can just kind of tell yourself that, then you just kind of feel sorry for them almost. You're just like, you know what? I hope your day gets better. And that's kind of just like how I feel when people say stuff like that. I'm like, hope it gets better, man. That sucks. Because if you have, for me too, like when people are making negative comments, I'm like, if you have the time and energy to write me something, like you obviously don't have a lot of time and energy to put towards anything else. And I just almost feel bad.
Yeah. Because imagine how much toxicity and negativity they're surrounded by, that's their default.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's horribly tragic. And I feel for those people and I wish I could help them. It's just, they're not going to be open to me trying to help them because that is such a limiting belief and a negative space to be in that. And I even said this in my response to said troll, your life doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to default to negativity. And if that's something that you want to change, and I linked BetterHelp, it's a mental health organization online. There's a place to start to get a therapist and really start to work through this stuff. Because here's the thing, especially with the pandemic, and I'll wrap this topic up because it's getting long. When you squeeze an orange, what comes out of it?
The orange juice.
What's inside comes out. And we are collectively being squeezed with the pandemic, with our new awareness for a lot of people that we were out of control of anything external to us, that there's no end in sight. And so what's inside is coming out, and it's beautiful for some people, it's healing for some people, and it is ugly for other people. And so just having, we just all need to love each other more, have more positivity, realize we're all doing the best that we can, and put yourself out there because there's a lot of good that you can bring to the world. And maybe we're just missing you putting yourself out there and showing up.
Yes, I love that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kayla, for coming on. Again, guys, if you didn't listen to the episode over on Educated Artistry, we'll link it up in the show notes. That is part 1, and this is part 2. Kayla, where can people follow and learn more about you?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at Educated Artistry Podcast. I also have my business, my other business Instagram, which is KK Artistry. I'm also on TikTok at KK Artistry. I feel like I do a lot more content on TikTok lately than Instagram. So that's like the fun. I feel like TikTok's like the fun place to be. Yeah. So that's pretty much where you can find me. My website is kkartistry.com, where I have like the one-on-one coaching. I do have a pricing hourly and with intention course that goes through pricing your products as a solo lash artist that's online. So that's where you can find me. And that's what I got.
Beautiful. We will link all of that up in the show notes. And until next week, guys, have a good one.
Perfect.